Hello, everyone. My name is Wiganya. I will be your host for today. Um, and yeah, I would like to thank Kamo for the setup and making sure everything is done. And I also like to thank the team also for making this happen. I am here with Pamela, which is our guest. Thank you for coming, brother.
Thank you for having me.
100%. And he is here to talk about himself and his book. But yeah, just to let the people know just a little bit about yourself.
I'm Pimelo Rangaka. I'm a grateful recovering addict.
100%.
I was born and bred in Rustenburg, and I'm a musician, an author, and an entrepreneur. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I've overcome a lot of things, and I'm on a new leaf. I've turned over a new leaf, let me say.
100%.
Yeah.
So, as I was saying, like we both are recovering addicts. So yeah, you are here to, just enlighten us about your experience. Just a little bit of experience, strength, and hope. But mostly, like what I see is I see a lot of hope. If I see you every single time I see a recovering addict sitting in a chair or just living their own life without the use of drugs, all I see is hope.
Yeah.
That shows a lot of hope. That's also for the people that think that, they won't make it out there. I believe that you can,
Yes.
it's just that you have to put in the work and you have to be more willing to do it
Yeah, sure.
at the same time. So yeah, just before we get into your book, just tell us like about like how it was in active addiction and how it's been right now. But like I would like to touch in more about like how it really was and the struggles and how you overcame everything that you went through, and
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna dive into, like how much work you really put in right now.
Um, I know this is unconventional. A lot of recovering addicts would say that it was a nightmare being addicted, but for me, it's different. I felt like I was having a lot of fun
100%.
at the time. In the beginning stages, that's what you think, like this is all fun and you've got it under control and stuff like that. But as time went by, especially after the birth of my daughter, um, it didn't really hit me as such that you've got a kid now, you need to change. All I was thinking about was, no, I just need to get more money to just raise this child, right?
100%.
And the issue was that me thinking that way, my habits were not changing. So I was still in active addiction, even though something that big, that much, I think that blessing came upon me, but I didn't realize it because my main focus was just getting high, getting drunk, having fun, being out, because that's the social norm, of most of the people that we live in. Because especially where I come from, because I was raised in a township, that's the culture.
100%.
Yeah, even if you get a good job and leave and go work in Johannesburg, live on an estate, they always come back.
Mm.
They'll come back on a weekend to show you that they've made it out, but their habits have not.
100%.
Yeah, you're living in a townhouse that's worth close to 500,000 or 1 million itself. Now you go back to the hood, go car wash, so the guys can praise you that you have a car, you've made it, but your habits are still the same as the unemployed guys that you are with at the car wash. So I think that was detrimental for me to still be in active addiction. And at a point, I did say that I'd want to change, but the change really is like, no, I need to man up, because after one binging weekend on the Monday, all of us are like, "I, Aksai is a D-Day."
100%.
But it doesn't last long, because there's always a reason to celebrate. I don't even know what we're celebrating, but we are celebrating every week. There is a reason to drink, to smoke, and get high in our culture, Kokasi, because you have Mohodu Monday, you only probably rest on a Wednesday, because on Tuesday you are recovering from the Mohodu Monday.
100%.
Wednesday you chill. On Thursday, Kipuza Thursday or ladies' night. Friday you weekend up and you're back at it again, you know? And because alcohol is a socially acceptable drug, people view it separate from
The drugs.
the drugs themselves, you know, but it is
A drug
part
also.
of
Yeah.
the drugs, you know?
100%.
So that's actually where it started for me. That's how it started. Like it was the alcohol first and foremost. And then, you know, in the industry that I am in, entertainment and the arts, you know, you get now you start smoking weed here, then you go to hard drugs, you start doing cat, someone introduces you to cocaine, and it spirals out of control, but gradually because you don't see it.
Because you
It's a
just
hit there and there, you know. So we're doing music, we don't want to sleep. No, I'm fit to slant a line here, you know? And tomorrow you're still doing it because you want to finish the recording of an EP. And eventually you start doing it on your own without the people that introduced you to these things, you know? So
100%.
that's how it was. But how it's going, um, right now, recovery isn't an easy process and it's not a quick fix. Um, at first, I thought that I knew a lot, and I won't lie because you know I'm a reader and I've read a lot, and I'm like, I can do this
I know,
on
right?
my own, you know. And it doesn't last long, but it was, I think, at the point where I met Nkolisi, I think that's where the turning point for me was when I knew because I heard his story as well, and some of the things that he had faced are similar to mine. You know, one of the things being the passing of his mother and my passing of my mother as well really affected me in 2014. And when he told me his life story, that's where I actually saw that, you know, like I'm not in this alone, and because he offered me a way out, but not in the sense that you need to change for certain people. He just asked me a few questions like, are you okay with the way that you're living? Is this working out for you? Are you actually achieving your dreams?
I know.
And obviously, at face value, when we're still talking, I'm like, no, I got this, Joe. Like, I'm pushing, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm hustling where I can. But deep down, I knew that he's right. You know, some of the things that I was doing were not in line with where I wanted to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So that's the turning point for me, and how it's going right now. I take it a day at a time. Yeah, that's how I'm getting through this. It's every day is a new day to just continue being sober again, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, because I can relate 100% with what you said about, the culture of active addiction. Like from my side also, like, I grew up around people that were using I grew up around older people than me. So like the biggest thing that I fell into was peer pressure,
Mm.
wanting to fit in.
Yeah, sure.
So from my side, every single thing that I did in the past was because I wanted to fit in.
Mm.
And as a result, like you said, I can relate to that. I ended up doing it by myself.
Mm.
I found myself using and drinking alone, um, but not understanding that I really had a disease. There's people that are out there that can actually drink or use and still keep a job,
Mm.
um, still have a relationship with family.
Mm.
So from my side, it was a little bit different.
Mm.
Everything was a disaster. I would mess up every little thing that I find. Like either it's a relationship, a friendship, if it was not about or whatever I was using, it didn't really matter.
Mm.
So yeah, I can really, really relate to that. And about being a chameleon.
Yeah.
Like I was too quick. Like if I was with the red people, I would switch on to the red people,
Mm. You conform there.
And then
Sure.
you end up, yeah, so you end up becoming good at it, and then it becomes habits and then it becomes a lifestyle at the
Mm.
same time.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, coming into recovery also, like I would say recovery is not easy. It's
Yeah,
hard,
definitely.
but it's just one of those battles that, as a recovering addict, you have to choose which battles are you going to fight. Which ones are worth it also at the same time. Like if I had to think about, because both of them are hard. Active addiction is hard,
Mm.
and recovery is hard.
Mm.
But if I'm choosing, I would rather choose recovery
Yeah.
because there are much more fruitful things in recovery than active addiction.
Yeah.
Because in my day-to-day life in active addiction, I'm actually destroying,
Yeah.
and in recovery I'm building.
Mm.
No matter how hard it is, like I'm really building, and it's very important. And it's actually worth it. So yeah, also like with your amount of clean time into recovery, just tell us a little bit of your experience, like finding the balance with working, family, friends, conflicts, like people walking around, with people drinking.
Hey.
How do you handle that? How do you balance that?
Honestly, I don't think that I've found that balance yet.
Mm,
I'm still trying to find my feet. I was met with a lot of resistance, obviously, when you start saying that you're clean to people that you used to use with.
hmm
Ke bo, omo breaking, o tla boa. You
Yeah,
know,
the
they
negative.
they don't
Yeah.
believe it, and I don't blame them because from the amount of times that I have said, I want to leave this to them, I didn't. I eventually went back, just a week or so. So that resistance just showed me how much of a lifestyle I had turned this into. And in terms of balancing work and family, I haven't yet. I'm still working on that because right now it's building a business, and I missed some parts of my kids' growth because I wasn't like an active father, because I was always out and doing whatever active addiction was just pushing me into.
hmm
And the realization that all of this should fall on my shoulders, um, that's what I struggled with in the beginning, because at most of the time we like to blame our circumstances, like had I not had the pressure of having a kid at a certain age, or
Mm,
the way that I grew up, we blame external things except ourselves.
100%.
And that's where now I'm still trying to find common ground for all of these things, build a better relationship with my children and my family, because it's the people that we let down the most are not the friends that we use with, because they are in a haze the same as you are. But the ones that are looking at it from a loving standpoint, they're the ones that we hurt the most. So repairing those relationships isn't easy,
100%.
because even though you would apologize and try to show people that you've grown and you have actually did a full 180 or 360 of your life, it isn't easy to trust you. You still have to earn people's trust. So in terms of work-life balance, I'm still figuring that out now.
Yeah, 100%. You
Mm.
actually touched it on it, because most of what I heard was progress and not perfection.
Yes.
Because that was one of the things that when I came into recovery, they told me if you had a list of expectations coming into recovery, you'll be cheating yourself.
Mm.
So we look for progress and not perfection. Um, every day we try to be better people.
Mm.
It doesn't mean like we're going to be perfect. I mean, 10 years worth of damage can't be fixed just because you're a few months late.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Still relationships that need to be built. But it's a process. I was just told trust the process.
Mm.
Do not rush it. So that's just one of those things. But coming into recovery, you're like a newborn, because you have to unlearn all those habits.
Yeah.
Because that became your lifestyle, and then it became part of your identity to
Mm.
some degree, because that's all you knew, that's all you lived.
Yeah.
Um, all your defects of character, the lying, the manipulating, the cheating, the
Mm.
stealing, all that stuff became a part of you. So now we're coming into recovery, and now we're learning about spiritual principles,
Yes.
the things that we actually grew up we're learning again, and how to apply them to our day-to-day life.
Yes.
The honesty,
Yeah.
being considerate,
Yeah.
um, so all these things, compassion,
Yeah.
tolerance, all these
Yeah.
principles we're starting to learn again. And it's actually a cool thing to learn, because you start to live life not fighting anymore.
Yeah, and become a person of integrity
You
now.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. So you
Yeah.
stop trying to play God, you stop trying to control things,
Mm,
situations, people, places, or things.
mm,
You do the best you can and let the rest happen how it's supposed to happen.
for sure.
So for me, it's like, um, you being here a recovering addict, you are there. You are there for your family.
Yeah.
You are able to become a responsible father.
Mm,
you know you're not out there doing whatever, you're
mm,
actually there, genuinely there. And every single day, you're just trying to become a better person, becoming a
yeah.
better father.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the fruitful things about recovery, is because we become who we are supposed to become.
Yeah. But it's the facing yourself. That's the hardest thing.
Sure.
Because for me, like when I was still in active addiction,
Mm.
I thought that was me. You know, that guy was me. Like, get that man, what did they bring? You want me to your woman?
Yeah.
Get that man. That's you identify a lot with your using and you think that's the way that you are. And then when you now break away from all of those bad habits and you face yourself, because obviously now you start meditating and going through the steps and such and attending meetings. Now you start facing the real you. And there was a time where um, like I came out of a meeting, and after the meeting, like when I thought about some of the people that were sharing, and one lady was talking about how she looked herself in the mirror and didn't recognize herself.
Hmm.
And then now she is gradually starting to see the real person that she is. And then when it actually hit home, because when I actually looked back at myself in my
Hmm.
youth before all of this,
Hmm.
I was really into creative writing and I read every day. And those things actually faded away within the haze of all the parties and all the drinking and smoking. And it was now relearning new habits now, but not necessarily new. They were a part of me, but I had just buried them so deep that I had forgotten that this is actually the real me.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, I'm really am grateful that it's at this point that this is happening, because in the past 100 days, because I've been clean for 104 days now, um,
Congratulations.
a lot has occurred in my life that has unfolded in a very good way. Of which there are certain things that I had wanted to happen while I was in active addiction, and they didn't, because I'm not sure if I wasn't praying well enough, or maybe God was waiting for me to get clean, to open certain doors for me. But it has really changed my life, like completely, these 100 days that I've been clean. And I know that people will have these word of the day, this, like I don't believe in that. There's no word of the day. All we have to do is just be grateful that we're alive, because
100%.
even if somebody is in active addiction today, um the fact that you woke up, it means that God still has a purpose for you. You know, there is something that you are here to do. And a lot of us think we're here to make like 10 billion and whatever. That's just monetary value. Some people will touch you just by speaking to you. Your neighbor could say something to you that changes your life. And that was their purpose. You needed to speak to that person that day for you to change. And for me, the person that changed my life is Mkolisi. And I talk about him a lot, and some people would ask me, like, when I speak on radio, but
Mm.
like, why do you keep mentioning this guy? Like, aren't there other people that you are grateful for? And I'm like, yes, there are, but he saw me for me when I didn't see me. And that's why I keep mentioning him, that he's really helped me to actually see myself. Yeah.
100%, because yeah, the people in recovery play a huge part in our lives, because we're dealing with people that have done this before, people that, even though they might be cleaner than us,
Mm.
but they have went through the same
Mm.
experiences. That's why we look for similarities and not differences.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, people in recovery play a huge part. Even me, they play a huge part till today because I can always count on them because
Mm.
when I am struggling and I pick up that phone and call, they're there, same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
They don't even like ask so many questions. They just there because they know how it is. They know how it feels.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I just wanted to ask you about like your rehab experience.
Mm.
Because there's another way of how people view rehab.
Mm.
So just tell me, like, before you came to rehab, how was your view of how you saw a rehab facility compared to now?
I thought it was
Like
just a
being
waste
in
of
there
time.
and actually, yes.
I thought it was a waste of time. I mean, I am able to go and pick up a bottle or take a line, If I can do that on my own, why do I need a place to help me to leave these things? Why don't I just leave it on my own? I mean, I've got YouTube. I can watch YouTube videos, from addicts, and I just see what they do and get clean. That was the idea, But I did a tour of Hope Hill with Mplolisi last year, and I met the counselors and the nurse, and the atmosphere is a lot different from what I had expected. I just thought people would just sit around a circle and it's kumbaya and
100%.
and given the fact that I always viewed rehab like it's like church, because when I heard people talking about 12 steps, now they have their own commandments there, you know. But now, going through that, you start viewing things differently when you start seeing how it affects you and how it affects other people, because you'd actually see that if we were told to take all of our issues and set them down,
Hmm.
and you were given an option to pick up somebody else's problems, you'd still pick up your own because you can see that I'm able to handle this. And I think this person is actually going through much more than I am. And that also provides you with hope. It does, because you're like, I've been crying about these issues, whereas this person is going through hell, And now, I mean, I don't go around advocating for people to go into that. That's not what I do, because we're not about that. It's more of attraction than
Promotion.
promoting. Yeah. So I I would recommend for people to actually give it a go, because yes, people get discouraged when they see certain people come back from rehab and relapse, but that's the minority. A lot of the people are doing good. I mean, I am, I am. And it touched me as well when I went on social media and did say to people that, you know what, I am a recovering addict. It does take some form of bravery to do it, because you never know. There are internet trolls and they're going to give you a lot of backlash for saying certain things. But there was a person who actually came face to face with me, and I didn't know him at all.
Hmm.
But he follows me on my socials, and he was like, you know what, Joe? I've followed you for some time, and I used to see the parties that you went to, the people that you hung out with, and I know I've been to some of those places and saw you live doing all of these things.
100%.
And for you to do a transformation of that nature, you actually inspired me to also reevaluate how I am living, and walking away from that, I was like, you know what, I owe a lot to my maker as well, that he gave me the strength to actually overcome these things. And the idea was not to inspire anybody to do anything.
Mhm.
I was just venting, and for it to actually have a positive impact on somebody else's life is just a bonus. And it also gives me the courage to keep going as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's because the reason why I asked this question is because, some people have a different way of viewing rehab. I
Mm.
still remember like years ago when I when they said I must go to a rehab facility, and I'm like, I'm not going where crazy people are, you know, because of like what I see on movies and stuff like
Yeah,
that, you
yeah.
know, like the pumping the heads, and I didn't really have an idea of what rehab was until I started walking in, you know, and then you get those words of "I'll love you" until you learn to love yourself.
Yes.
Because I still remember when I came into rehab, I was really broken.
Mm,
You know, I was really broken. I didn't understand myself. I didn't know myself. I didn't understand why I do the things that I do, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't stop.
mm,
You know, and I came to realize that, you know, coming into a facility, you know, that's an opportunity to actually work on yourself. You know,
mm,
not a lot of people are privileged to be in a facility to work on themselves. But you know, if you have that privilege of going to a facility and actually having X amount of time to work on yourself, that is beautiful because it was a beautiful thing for me. Coming from my experience,
mm,
also as you said, like you know, I actually found out like a lot of things about myself, the things I didn't even know that I actually liked.
mm,
You know, finding out more about myself, who I was. You know, and I'm still on that journey because
mm,
even though I'm not on rehab, I'm still in the journey of like finding out who I really am, and I'm
mm.
finding that out day by day.
Yeah, we never stop learning.
100%
Yeah.
because life never stops
Mm.
teaching, you know, because yeah, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, anyway, so let's just dive into your book because I'm really much more interested into, you know, learning more about your book because yeah, it's a really interesting book.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm just gonna give you that platform for you to speak more about your book. You know, like touch into like um what motivated you to actually start the book also,
Yeah.
you know? Because to me, like, you know, when I see a book from a recovering addict, all I see is giving out what you have,
Yeah.
you know, your life and how it is now. But like, yeah, let me not get too much into it.
Mm.
Let me just give you that platform.
Well, the book initially when I wrote it, it
Hmm.
wasn't meant for anyone to read. I was doing it for myself. So, I actually started writing this book before I went into recovery.
Hmm.
So the book is fictional, but there are parts of me that are in the book. You know how authors are. Like you put your personal story in a way that will be entertaining for other people, you know?
Hmm.
So and in the back of my mind, when I started writing the first few pages of the book, I wanted to just write a story about someone that triumphed over adversity, right? And as I went along, the character in the book, his name is Sireletso, right? And there was a reason for that because my name Kipemelo and Sireletso necessarily means the same thing.
Yes,
It means protection, you know?
100%.
So I wrote this character into the book and for him to just tell his story. I guess also to there are parts of Tshireletso that I have not aspired to yet. So I was also kind of wanting to aspire to become like him in his triumph. Wow. And I didn't want the book to be read by anyone because I just wanted to create a story and vent and not give it to anyone, not publish it even. But I wanted to leave it to my kids to read one day that my dad wrote a book, you know, maybe learn a few lessons from it, right? So halfway through the book, that's now when I met Nkolisi, right? And the direction of the book did not really shift. It just went into a bit of depth
Mm.
of the story that I was trying to tell
Okay.
because that's when now I'm starting to heal myself because at the time I did tell Mpolisi about the book or hey, I'm writing this book and I don't necessarily want it to be out or what. And when we had a one-on-one and spoke and I looked at the book that I was writing, didn't really correlate with the way that I'm living, you know. So I went into recovery whilst writing the book as well. So that really did give me a lot of perspective as well. Because when you read the book, you will see there's a certain shift within the book where you can pick up that, okay, now the book is going into a lot more depth than in the beginning, And towards the end of the book, I think I also found my own healing in the writing of the book as well, because now I had already been taught like the spiritual principles and I was going through the steps. So I now wanted it to be read, but it wasn't prompted by me alone because a friend of mine, I gave it to a friend of mine after writing it, and I'm like, hey, dude, read this. And he read it and he's like, no, why don't you just publish this? Because this can actually help people. I mean, I'm reading it now, and already there are things that I see I do on a day to day that I could learn from, following certain things that you're talking about in the book. So that's how the book came about. And the impact of the book itself, I saw it after publishing because my editor sent me an email and she was like, this is really a good book, even though it's a fictional story, me knowing certain parts about you, I can see you in this book as well, and it does deserve to be read by people because number one, it will help, people who are struggling with substances, right? But the initial message that I was trying to convey in the book was not necessarily pointed at addicts. It was all of us. Because if you look at what Nyaupe addicts or any addicts, right? What they do to get the drugs, they are unrelenting. They would do anything, right?
100%.
If we applied that very same energy and tenacity to our everyday lives, we'd be better off. Because if I wanted to take a drug, I'm addicted and I want to take a drug now, and it costs me 100 Rand and I don't have that 100 Rand, I will, by any means necessary, by the end of today, I will have 100 Rand to buy because I have that determination. So now, why not take the same energy, same determination, but use it for a positive gain? That was the aim of the book. Because a lot of people they have a misconception about the book that I wrote it because I wanted to just talk to addicts. That's not what the book is about. I wanted people to learn from what addicts are going through because you don't necessarily need to hit rock bottom for you to learn certain lessons. Some things you can learn from other people, some other people's experiences. And the main point I was trying to get across was that even though we all seek hope, but we need discipline. For you to change, you need a lot of discipline. Before, I was disciplined in my addiction. I never missed a weekend out. That was my life. Now I spend my weekends in to focus on things that build instead of destroy. Yeah. So that's how the book came about. And it has helped a lot of people that have read the book have come back to me and said, you know what, like there are parts in the book where I touch on where this character actually started because a lot of the time people view addicts as like outcasts. Like because you don't use, you feel like you are better than them. You're like, why does this person do drugs? They should know better. And drugs are not necessarily the problem, they are the solution
To our problems, 100%.
they're the solution. So I wanted to take people on a journey to see before this person went into drug addiction, what were his issues? And there are people who are addicted to work, who are addicted to sugar, but we don't view them as addicts, It's only people who are on drugs that are shunned by society. But people who take alcohol and who eat a lot, who shop a lot, are not viewed as addicts. I mean, in our communities, koka si rena le matime a ba le gore they wake up in the morning gore ba ilo betcha dipere jo. Like that's what they do on a day-to-day basis, but that's not viewed as addiction. Ba re ba hasela. you know. But the ones that smoke are the ones that are viewed by society as the outcasts. They're the ones that are doing something wrong. So I wanted to say in the book that, you know what, like we all have some form of problem, you know, but we should look at each other with compassion, because even when we're in recovery, no one is above the other. My story is not worse than yours. You know, we all have the problem of an addictive personality. You know, we have an issue, we have the disease. And that's what I was trying to get across, because I think a lot has not been said about where these problems arise. You know, it's always about the person that's damaging themselves, you know, but we never look at the circumstances of this person reaching that point. So them finding a solution in the drugs should not be frowned upon in a way, right? Because some people actually relapse because of that. We fix the person, yes, they are here, but when they leave, they go back into a community that's setting itself on fire and they can't cope because sometimes they forget the principles or they are too hard for them to cope with those issues when they get back home, you know? So that's what I wanted people to start looking at, because there are um, other centers that are on TikTok. They are very famous, you know, and they are helping our communities because they focus on, you know, taking the kids away from their parents because they're a nuisance to their parents, right? But we don't sit with the parents themselves to say, what do you think caused him to do this? It's always just blame on the child or the individual that's using. But sometimes, if we had taken the time to say, okay, what actually happened, then you'll find there are underlying issues in their family history. Like, it's not just about this guy that's using, there's also this guy used to watch his mother getting abused by the father, and he found out that the father had another concubine or mistress somewhere, and he got beat up by this guy because he knew the father's secrets. So those types of things need to be dealt with as well. It's a societal problem. It's not just an individual one.
Yeah, 100%. I do
Mm.
agree. But it all start with also the addict,
Mm.
because we can only be the change.
Yeah.
So us coming from whatever background that we come from, we put in the work, and then that's where we spread it out.
Yeah.
That's where,
Definitely.
because I can understand, because even from my side, even my experience in active addiction, the way I used to live, like, I came to understand that also my family also had to go through counseling.
Mm.
It wasn't just
Mm.
me that had to
Mm.
go through counseling, as much as, you know, they would put me through a lot at a younger age, and then I'll just react badly to it, and then I'll
Mm.
just end up using, drinking, partying, all that stuff. Um, and then I get to this program, and then I learn certain things, and then I have to realize that they also need help.
Yeah.
As much as we got the help, they also need help.
Mm.
So like I understand what you say,
Yeah.
because it's not just about just the addict. We all go through different challenges of life, and if we in denial that we need the help,
Mm.
it's another problem. So, but yeah, I do understand. It's actually interesting. Please, guys, go read this book. This
Yes.
book is interesting. I would advise you to read it. And please share the message. Please share the message.
Yeah,
It's
for
really
sure.
important, because this is what we do, and this is also the bigger thing of why this is important, is to share the message.
Of course.
Um, and like I said from the beginning, you sitting here gives a lot of hope. You
Yeah.
know, me sitting here is a lot of hope.
Mm.
I wasn't quite important in life to some degree. I was just like a walking disaster
Mm.
to someone that is very responsible and productive member of society. Like,
Mm.
I'm literally trusted by people. I'm trusted by families.
Yeah,
Um, so if you feel like it's not gonna be you, it can be you. You just need to put in the work.
for sure.
Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't think that you can't, because if you say that you can't, it becomes a thinking, and
Mm.
once it's a thinking, it becomes a belief.
Yes.
So whatever you think becomes your belief.
Yeah.
So if you tell yourself that you can, you will.
Mm.
You know. But yeah, like, thank you so much for coming. Actually, Um,
Thank
I,
you
I,
for
re-
having me.
I really appreciate you coming and giving out your time to be with us today. Sharing your experience, sharing your book, sharing your hope, giving us hope.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, really much appreciate you coming here, my
thank
brother.
you.
So yeah, I think this will be the end of our podcast. I am here from Hope Hill. If you are looking for our email is www.hopehillcenter.co.za. It's also info@hopehillcenter.co.za. If you want to call us on 076 023 2574. Um, and this is the message for the still suffering addict out there. Um, I would like to tell you that you're never alone unless you choose to.
Yeah,
We are here. We do understand. We can help you. You're never alone unless you choose to. I say it again because it is really important and it's what was said to me. As long as you're still breathing, you still have a choice and a chance to rewrite your story. It can be different. Even though it's hard, you might feel that you can't, you can. You just have to make that decision and stick to it. So, yeah, this is the
yeah,
end of our podcast. Everyone have a nice, enjoy the rest of your day.
yeah.
Cool.